I'm hardly getting any sales out of my products season, but I think there have been changes in the working keywords that I should target depending on my far competitors' analysis. Will you advise me of rewriting my listing, title, bullet, description again from scratch using the new trending keywords that shown up on my research? Yeah. So anytime that you have some form of changes within your niche, your category, and how people are searching for specific keywords, you should be able to tell these changes via something along the lines of using like SmartScout's keyword tracker, right? Where it also will show trends within the overall search volume of each individual keyword. So if you haven't ever done that, I would absolutely go ahead and do that first and foremost to just see what the trend actually looks like for your keywords, first and foremost. So past that as well, the other aspect that you need to be looking at with this is understanding, are your competitors just targeting those keywords for the purpose of targeting them, or are they actually high relevancy keywords to your product in particular? So those are some factors you have to take into consideration at the end of the day. So when you are trying to rewrite your title, bullet, description, first and foremost, I'll just say, if you head on over to myamazonguy.com and check out our SEO resources, we have a bunch that kind of go over exactly this. But secondarily to that, thing that I will always say is first 5 keywords should be your most high relevancy keywords at the end of the day. And then from there, make sure that your bullets are essentially geared towards indexing and ranking on keywords. Biggest thing I always tell people, text is for robots, pictures are for people. So if your text at the end of the day does not have to be necessarily user friendly, just focused on indexing and ranking as the primaries outside of your title. You do want your title to be focused on people as well.
Are backend keywords flagged by Amazon for making medical and disease claims, or is this treated differently since it's not seen by customers? Technically, still is something that you can have. I've seen people who are just indexed and ranking for certain keywords that they don't even have. But yes, absolutely, they can still get flagged for it. So I would not make the claim even in your backend keywords. Now you can have certain keywords. The best way to do this is usually advertising, because you then technically aren't having it on your actual product. But yeah, it would still technically be claim, even if it's not directly in your copy. So I usually stay away from any of those types of claims, even for our backend keywords. Do I negative match the main keyword? That seems like a bad idea since they are the highest search, but they also drain my PPC budget. What do I do in this case? So you have a high relevancy, quote unquote, keyword, right, that matches your product, but you're not converting on it. Why aren't you converting on it is the thing that you need to find out first and foremost. Are you not converting due to pricing compared to competitors? Are you doing any self-targeting campaigns, or in other essence, brand protection campaigns on your products? I have a campaign of exact match keywords, 5 keywords. These keywords rarely get impressions or convert. Keyword related to group gets sales, but at high A cost. Do I turn this campaign off? Yeah, I mean, if you've done a lot of testing, you're not getting impressions first and foremost. I think I remember you talking about this. Yeah, if you're not getting impressions, there's a couple of reasons typically for that. I would also look at the search volume specifically for those keywords, see if it actually has, if they have search volume on them. If not, then yeah, you're not going to get any impressions on them. But if they're just unconverting, unsearchable keywords, yeah, I would just turn it off. Don't target them at the end of the day. The keyword related to group, yeah, I mean, that can actually usually be working fairly well. I mean, that's essentially what phrase is and complementary is. So I'm assuming in some capacity, you're probably doing some kind of auto campaigns as well that maybe has some search terms in there that are complementary search terms. Be good. Check that out. And I'm guessing that will help you as far as finding new keywords for some new exact campaigns. But you can also throw these keywords into broad campaign, these 5 keywords into broad, and you'll probably get a lot more bang for your buck.
Good idea to write keyword heavy bullet points for initial indexing, then phasing it out for bullet optimized for conversion after a month or two after getting indexed in rankings. Yes and no. So realistically, the big aspect you want to focus on here is more so your first 1,000 characters in bullets, first and foremost, because those are the ones that Amazon prioritizes. It doesn't necessarily mean you can't index past that, but Amazon prioritizes your first 1,000 characters. Now, that being said, at the end of the day, there is no real say that you have to have short bullet points. I do find that after a while of enough indexing and ranking, usually around a 2,500 to 3,500 measure, having really, really keyword heavy bullet points doesn't necessarily help you from either a conversion path or even just a overall impression share. So it's one of the things where, yes, after a while, you do want to phase out, have a little bit tighter bullet points for keywords that actually matter, very high relevancy, strike zone type keywords that you are trying to push into that 1 to 10 ranking area. But yeah, in the meantime, I would definitely have a bit heavier keywords overall. And again, first 1,000 characters is what really matters. What process do you go through for auto campaign negation? What are you looking for within campaign to make the decision to negate a keyword or phrase? Very simple answer here, I think. Super similar to pretty much any other campaign. So it's always going to be data driven, right? So you only want to negate a bad keyword, never negate a good keyword. So with any type of negation, you're going to be looking at essentially number of clicks to conversion ratio and your amount of spend. So if you are, let's say, getting 20 clicks and you have 0 conversions, you are going to essentially look at that and say, yeah, that's a negation. We have an entire kind of SOP we go through for our negations. One thing that I think is more impactful at the end of the day than talking about what you should be doing when you're looking at like what to negate from an auto campaign, because again, it follows the same exact process everything else, is go back through all of your negations at least once a week, if not once a month. It's one of the things where sometimes people get a little negation happy, a little trigger happy with your negations. And so what they'll end up doing is they'll throw way too many negations out there, and it turns into now you're not converting at all. So go back through and just double check. Did you negate something that was actually like, lifetime 20% ACoS, but reality is it just had a bad 2 weeks, for instance? It's entirely possible. So go back through your negations list. But yeah, I typically base it off of ACoS goals and whether or not it's actually converting and the relevancy towards that. So big thing, I always talk about relevancy with keywords. People always seem to think like, oh yeah, this is relevant. When I say relevancy, I only mean relevancy in the sense of actual relevancy. Is something actually relevant from a data driven perspective, not a, yeah, this is really relevant because I sell a deck of cards and I am, advertising against playing cards. Not really. That's not how it works. It's all data driven at the end of the day when I talk about relevance. Is it better to focus on 300 keywords but bid 50% lower, or focus on 100 keywords but increase the bids more? Yeah, I would say absolutely the 100 keywords, right? So if you're bidding 50% lower across keywords, I think you might be misguided on how, typically speaking, bidding on Amazon advertising actually works. Is bid the only thing that comes into play when it shows a ad on Amazon search? No, Amazon does take things such as your click-through rate, conversion rate towards specific keywords into account. That being said, 50% lower than like what other people are bidding is going to be too low. You're just not going to actually get impressions across the board. If you're talking about just keyword in general, I mean, that's just not how it works, right? You can choose some keywords to be lower on, especially if they are less relevant, so to speak, but they have decent conversion. So, for instance, like an auto catch-all campaign. Auto catch-all campaign, I typically suggest doing like 15 to 20 cents as your bid structure on those, which is super low, right? But the point is exactly that. You want to get conversions at as cheap as possible of a rate. Now, focusing on 300 keywords, bidding 50% lower, 300 is just a lot of keywords, right? And it would be baffling to me if you have 300 examples of super low bid structure keywords that you're still converting on well enough to get decent organic ranking on, right? So I think there's a mixed bag of how you can kind of answer this question, but I really would just focus on the 100, right? Focus on what's working, double down on it. If you find a keyword that is working exceptionally well and you just convert, you have a 50% conversion ratio, are you going to care about increasing your bid on that keyword to gain more traction on it? Probably not. Kindly talk about one keyword equals one ad group equals one campaign structure, and other structure also like one campaign, 5 keywords per match type. What and when campaign structure to use? I hate people that do one keyword, one ad group, one campaign, because you're just wasting space at that point. You can do this, and I do encourage you to do this only if it's a keyword that doesn't need any testing and you don't have any other keywords that can go along with it, and it's just operating by itself. The entire reason that I suggest typically one campaign, one ad group, 5 keywords, or even one keyword. So let's say 1 to 10 keywords per ad group, per campaign, is because it's super simple to see if it's actually being effective or not, right? You can actually see data specific towards it. You're not lost in the fact of a campaign has 100 keywords and 10 different ad groups, right? I don't care about ad groups as much, I will say. Some people put a exact phrase broad all in one thing. Cool, good for you. It doesn't help when you're trying to navigate budget constraints at all. It doesn't help in a lot of these different capacities. So I'm up in the air on it. The easiest way to answer this question is it helps you organize, right? And it helps you see very clearly from a top level how everything is performing. You don't need to dig in super deep. You can just say what campaigns have certain ACOS. Boom. Now you know what things are not working without having to look at every individual campaign. And of course, it's a little archaic, I will say, right? Because Amazon advertising has gotten better over the years, right? We're able to see specific keywords and targets and actually do that. Back in the day, you couldn't do those things. You couldn't go into Amazon ads and be like, "Oh, I want to see exactly how this keyword across different campaigns is performing." You couldn't do that. Nowadays, you can, where you can just do specifically just keyword oriented. It's nice, but back in the day, you couldn't. For categories that allow 5 rows for generic keywords, are all the words within the 25 characters indexed? If not, what are the benefits to filling out all 2,500 characters? Yeah, this is a great question. Generic keywords on the back end. Some categories allow, yes, 5 rows. Other categories only have 250 bytes. Some categories have 500 bytes. Amazon changes it all the time. What I tell everyone is to, yes, fill out all 2,500 characters for indexing. Yes, all 2,500 have the potential for indexing. Are all 2,500 going to be indexed? No. Amazon prioritizes both on the backend keywords and for your bullet points, which is what I was initially talking about, the first 1,000 characters. So focus your top wanting to index and rank as the first 1,000 characters. Realistically, even people who have access to all 5 rows, all 2,500 characters, I do not see them typically indexing super heavily past that 250 bytes, which is, the 1,000 characters, whatever limit. So just keep that in mind. Fill it out still. I think it's a good idea to do so, but make sure that your top stuff within that first 1,000.